It's time for your Low Country real estate market update. It's the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show. Brian is one of the top 1% real estate agents in Charleston. Find him online at listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. Or call him at 843-345-1273. Now, broadcasting from the WTMA studios, here's your host, Brian Beatty.
Good morning, Charleston. You're listening to the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show here on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA. I'm your host, Brian Beatty, and thanks again for tuning in this morning. We're going to talk about all things real estate here over the next hour. So if this is your first time tuning in, let me tell you a little bit about what this show is about. I like to take national, regional, local news, apply that to the Low Country. I'm a big stats guy, big numbers guy, so I like to talk a lot about what's going on in our market. And if you're buying, selling, considering investing, if you're in any way, shape, or form interested in our real estate market, then you use this program as an opportunity to get some good information that you can hang your hat on, some good relevant information. And I also share my experiences as an agent that's been in the top 1% of agents in this market since 2009. So that's what this show is all about. It's all designed to help you make informed real estate decisions and to set some proper expectations with the public, so that, again, if you're considering buying, selling, investing, you know what's going on. If you'd like to reach out to me, I am a real estate agent, would love the opportunity to work with you. Two ways to do that. Call or text 843-345-1273, or feel free to go to my website, listingsincharleston.com, and on that website, you can take a look at everything I have for sale, take a look at all my listings, everything that I've done over the past several years in this career, and you'd of course, listen to previous versions of this show. And if you're considering selling your home, click on the Sell Your Home tab. You can learn more about my 59-day home sale guarantee at 4.5% commission. It very simply states, I'll sell your home in less than 2 months, or I'll sell it for half my commission. So, again, the website for that, listingsincharleston.com. Let me tell you what I want to talk about this weekend. And let me first say that last weekend, I recorded my show a little bit early, and I'm doing the same thing this week, and the reason for that is that my wife and I had a little baby girl on Sunday of last week. Couldn't be more happy. It is really the true definition of pure happiness, becoming a parent. So I am kind of in here on my time off. It seems like I'm living life every 2 to 3 hours right now. It's kind of eat, sleep, repeat. Well, eat, sleep, work, repeat. But anyways, so bear with me a little bit. I'm on a big coffee rush right now due to a lack of sleep, as anybody that listening has kids know is the norm for the first few weeks at least. So anyways, getting back to this program and what I want to talk about, I want to talk first about how the market tends to slow down this time of year. You know, we're in fall officially, and as the spring and summer months wind down, and as the activity associated with all the buying and selling of the spring and summer months kind of starts to reduce, it affects our market and it creates opportunities both for buyers and sellers, but it also causes us to take a step back, reflect, and then also think about where we are and how we need to move forward. So I want to talk first about just the buyer and the investor side of the market slowdown that we usually see right around this time of year. A little bit later on, I want to talk about how that affects sellers. I'm going to talk about interest rates and just the lending market in general. And then at the tail end of the program, I want to talk about something that I haven't spent a ton of time on just in terms of it being an official segment of my show, but it is certainly an underlying and foundational thing that I focus on this program, and that is integrity, ethics, and trust, and just operating your business with those three things. So I want to spend some time talking about ethical issues that real estate agents encounter on a day-to-day basis and how they should handle them and how that affects you. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Again, if you want to reach out to me, anything that I can do to help you buy, sell, invest, or you just want to ask some questions, there's no cost to have a chat with me about what you're considering doing either now or in the future if you just want some solid advice. Again, 843-345-1273 is my cell, or go to my website, listingsincharleston.com. So let's talk about buyers and investors. as I'd mentioned, this is the time of year where our market starts to slow down. And what I mean by that is that we start to see less sales on a monthly basis. So the numbers for August aren't out yet. Those usually come out toward the tail end of the following month. So I'll spend some time next program talking about that. But again, it's when closings start to go down. It's when new contracts, of course, start to go down. We typically don't see a increase in new listings this time of year. Most of the time, those hit in the first few months of the year and kind of the first half of summer. So I want to tell you a story because I think this kind of explains the market perfectly, especially our market. So I've been working with some buyers that are really good friends of mine, and we've been looking for a house for, I'd say, 9 months. It might even be closer to a year. But we've been actively in the market for, let's just say, 9 months. And a great listing hit the market about 3 months ago. And we were the first people to see it. We got there within an hour of it hitting the market. My buyers were flexible in terms of being able to take time off work and meet me there. So we were the first ones there, first one to take a look at it, and we made them an immediate offer that day. The offer was contingent upon my client, the buyer, selling their house, which was already on the market for sale. Well, the sellers took a look at the offer, and they decided that they didn't even want to respond. So we didn't even get an official response from that offer. We just got a message from the listing agent saying, hey, we appreciate the offer, but we're not going to do anything with that right now. It's too soon. And they said, well, it is understandable. It's a great listing. What if we decide to reduce the price of the house that we own drastically so that we can get an offer, put it under contract? Would you look at it then? Still wouldn't look at it. So we go back to them about a month later and we say, all right, we are going to pay you full price. We're going to give you what you're asking. And all we are asking in return is that you allow us 3 weeks to put our house under contract. If we're able to put our house under contract, then we're golden. If we don't put our house under contract, then you can release the contract that we've made for your house and you can put your home back on the market. You can try and sell it to another buyer. Well, they wouldn't go for that either. Fast forward about 2 months until a little bit earlier this week. We made them an offer. We went back and forth for days. And it was just more of the same, really. It was more of the seller being unreasonable. They were negotiating, but they were being unreasonable. And what I mean by that is, first they said they were going to take our offer. Then they came back and they countered it full price, which is basically a rejection. And then they wanted some sort of caveat that said that, well, if you agree to buy our house at this price, then you have to waive your appraisal contingency. So in other words, no matter what the appraisal comes in at, you have to buy it. Well, obviously that doesn't work for my buyer because they're getting a mortgage. And they can only get financed for as much as the house is going to appraise for. So anyways, we went through this rigmarole, and it just seemed like the seller was messing with us. It just seemed like they were responding once every other day and drawing out the process, and they're still under the assumption that there's some magical cash buyer out there 3 months later that's going to pay full price for their house. And I understand that that wasn't the case. The listing agent understands that that wasn't the case, but we were dealing with the seller that was so caught up in the drama and the activity of a spring and summer market that they were neglecting the fact that they had a ready, willing, and able buyer that was making them a great offer right in front of them. And so we made our final offer. They countered it. And I said, you know what? No, we are done negotiating. This is the best we can do. Take it or leave it. Either way, we have to move on because my client's house is now under contract. We've got to find something else. They have to find a place to live. Well, finally, the sellers took the deal. So my buyers now have a home under contract that they have loved for months. Their house is under contract and everything seems to be working out. The point of this story is that, again, as our market starts to slow down right now, the buzz associated with being in a summer market starts to wear off. And sellers that thought that they might be able to sell at the height of the summer market and get a price that was higher than anything else that had sold because prices are rising, if they haven't gotten a contract yet, then it's time for reality check with them. It's time for them to take a step back and say, well, I didn't get the price that I thought I was going to get when our market was really hot. Maybe I need to consider reducing the price or taking this buyer's deal. So I'm talking to you as if you are a buyer right now. The point of the story is to be persistent. And the other thing that you need to take under consideration is that you miss 100% of the opportunities you don't take. So don't be afraid to make an offer. If you see a house you like, it's a little bit outside your price range, make an offer. What's the worst that can happen? You waste 30 minutes to an hour putting a contract together and putting it in front of them and presenting an offer. You know, sometimes those work. And if there's a time to do it, these next few months are the time to take advantage of those opportunities. The other thing that I want to say is that because the activity in our market is reducing, it gets difficult for sellers to admit, especially those that have been on the market for a while, that the activity just isn't going to be the same moving forward. We're basically right at the point where we start to see that. We start to see it in the number of online clicks we get and in the showings we get. And those are all the precursors to getting offers. So it's happening kind of as we speak, and it's going to take a little bit of time for sellers to realize that, wow, we're not getting the activity that we got in the summer. So one more tip for buyers is to look for those properties that have been on the market for 180 days or more. I did a little statistic run this morning, and 30% of the active listings in our market, there's about 6,200 of them total, about 30% of them have been on the market for more than 6 months. So start taking a crack at some of these. If they fit your needs, or if you're an investor and you're out there and you're looking, great time to start looking at some of those properties as opportunities. I'm going to keep talking about this, and we're going to switch over to sellers. We're going to talk about the seller side. But if this is something you're interested in learning more about, if you want to know how to find those properties that have been on the market for an extended period of time, or if you just want to talk about where I see some opportunities in our market, feel free to give me a call, 843-345-1273, or go to my website, listingsincharleston.com. This is the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show. I'm going to take a quick break, and I'll be right back.
Stay tuned for more of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com. TMA. Now, the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show continues on Charleston's Big Talker, 1250 WTMA.
I'm your host, Brian Beatty. Thanks again for joining me this morning. If you're just tuning in, before I left, we were talking about shifts in the market. What typically happens this time of year as we enter the fall and winter months? And I was talking about how to approach our market from the standpoint of a buyer. And the takeaway from that is that as our market starts to shift, as things start to slow down, you know, as showings reduce, as the number of lookers reduce, as the number of contracts reduce, there's some vulnerability in our market that as a buyer, you can take advantage of. And I told you earlier that there's about 30% of the active inventory that have been on the market for more than 6 months. So if you're out there, if you're considering buying, or if you're considering investing in real estate as something to flip or just buy and hold and rent out, then let me know. I'm seeing some good opportunities out there, and I'm also seeing properties that are coming back on the market because something didn't work out with that previous contract. Maybe it was the appraisal. Maybe the buyer couldn't get financing. Maybe there were some home inspection issues. There's a variety of reasons why property comes back on the market, but there's some opportunity there. So again, if you're a buyer and you're listening, now is the prime time when sellers start to realize, wow, maybe my house isn't worth as much as I thought it was, and now I need to consider reducing the price. So again, if you'd like to speak with me about some of the opportunities that I'm seeing right now, please give me a call, 843-345-1273, or go to my website, listingsincharleston.com, and on that site, you can take a look at everything for sale listed by all companies in our MLS. You can take a look at everything that I have sold personally, which we're continuously updating. And if you're considering selling your house, which is what I'm going to talk about now, click on the Sell Your Home tab. I have a guarantee that I've put in place that states that I will sell your home in 59 days or less, or I'll sell it for half my commission. That's 4.5% commission. So again, the website for that, listingsincharleston.com. So again, let's kind of switch gears a little bit here and let's talk about if you're a seller and you've had your home on the market, or if you're considering putting your home on the market, here are some things to expect. Number one, usually there are less buyers this time of year than there are in the spring and summer months. We just have more closings in that segment of our market. Part of that is because, families want to get their kids into a new home before school starts, or investors want to pick up a property downtown or on the Isle of Palms, Wild Dunes, wherever the case might be, and take advantage of some weekly rental income. Variety of reasons why we have more closings in the spring and summer months. But as usual, our market starts to taper off a little bit right now. So if you're a seller, let's say that you've had your home on the market for an extended period of time, ask yourself some questions. Take a step back and have a reality check with your listing agent. Ask yourself, when was the last time we discussed what was happening in my neighborhood? Not just the market in general, but in my neighborhood. Have there been changes that I've missed that really affect my price or my strategy when it comes to selling this property? So what's going on in my specific section of the market? That's a question to ask. Number two, you need to find out, of course, what buyers are saying about your home. How many showings have you had? Ask your agent if the number of showings you're getting is normal. Is that consistent with a well-priced home that they think will sell? If showings are high, then you're in that sweet spot. You should be getting an offer, theoretically. If showings are slow, then that means that buyers are kind of trickling in, but we're not getting that overflow of buyers that well-priced homes in good condition typically get in this market. So ask your agent, how are buyers viewing our home in comparison to others? What are they buying? If they didn't make us an offer, what did they make an offer on? And what was so special about that house that made them choose that house over ours? Another question to ask. Of course, I think it's a good question to ask of the listing agent, what has been done in the marketing plan that you laid out in front of me when I decided to go with you and sell my house? And I don't think that it's disrespectful to the listing agent to say, let's go through this list and let's talk about what's working and what's not working. Now, some agents are going to be open and receptive to that conversation. Other agents are just going to say, hey, look, the marketing is the marketing and it will work when it works. And whenever a buyer loves your home and comes to see it, we'll get an offer. But there's nothing I'm going to change in terms of marketing. And usually that means because they don't technically understand how to modify things or how to deliver value or perceived value to a buyer. Because as a listing agent, there are things that we can do and there are things that we can change to create motivation from buyers. Having said that, a aggressive marketing plan, and I know that I said this last weekend and probably the weekend before that, but I feel like it's something I have to harp on right now because we've got all these sellers out there that want to sell and they keep asking, what are you doing, Mr. or Mrs. Agent, to sell my property? And then they'll set an unrealistic price. Or they'll say, hey, I need a really aggressive agent that's going to go out there and push it, and they're going to spend some marketing money, and they're not going to mind that they have to do professional photography and this, that, and the other. All of that's fine in my book. I don't mind going the extra mile. I always go the extra mile, but it has to be from the standpoint of we are working toward the collective goal of selling your house because there's a reason to sell your house. And what I mean by that is that if you're a seller and you're just going to say, hey, well, we'll just throw the property on the market, test the waters, and if it sells, great. If not, I really don't care. Well, then a truly aggressive marketing plan is missing something. And what it's missing is the seller's motivation to sell and the seller's willingness to understand what's going on in the market and to change their price or their strategy based on what the market is telling them. So in other words, if you're a seller, you've been on the market for 6 months, you've had a few showings but no offers, maybe you need to take a look at your strategy. Maybe we need to have a sit down between seller and listing agent and say what is working and what's not working. What do I need to do to sell my house? And what I've found is that there are plenty of agents out there. My God, I'd hate to guess at a statistic, but I'd say probably 75%, maybe even more, of real estate agents that have listings that represent sellers, avoid having those difficult conversations with them. When you work with a top producing agent, you not only get the benefit of their experience and their track record of sales and the marketing plan that they use for your house, but you should also benefit from that agent's willingness to have tough conversations with you. What they need to do is deliver the facts and not be so concerned about making you mad. If you're working with an agent right now, or if you've worked with an agent in the past, I don't want to make it sound like I'm throwing a bunch of agents under the bus and to fire them and call me. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is the agent that you choose should be willing to have those difficult conversations with you and not choose one path that says, all right, well, we're just going to put it at this price. I know it's overpriced. You know it's overpriced, Mr. Seller, but I'm going to tell you that it's possible to get your listing. But for the rest of the time that we work together, I'm just going to ask you to reduce the price. And I'm going to say that the reason it hasn't sold is because we were priced too high, and I'm going to put the blame back on the seller. That's what I think a lot of listing agents think about when they take listings and don't have the guts to have those tough conversations with their seller. On the flip side of that, I, as a real estate agent, need to be able to deliver true market facts to my clients so that we can make informed decisions, right? That's one of the points of this show, is to give you real information to use rather than just a bunch of hoopla that someone puts together to try and get you to buy or sell real estate. I'm here to just deliver the facts and have you use that information to your advantage. And so sometimes when I have a frank conversation with the seller about what the market has done, what they have said about your house. So in other words, if I have a listing that's been on the market for a few months and we haven't gotten an offer, then I'm going to say, hey, the market has spoken. I know that we haven't gotten an offer, but if we were priced exactly where we needed to be, and if your home is in as good a condition as it is right now with that price, we should have had an offer. So don't shoot the messenger if you're listening, sellers, because we have to be able to feel comfortable delivering that information to you without the threat of us losing the listing. If that's what listing agents are thinking, by the way, they shouldn't be representing you from the beginning because they fed you with information that they knew was incorrect. Hope all this is making sense to you, because this is what I deal with on a day-to-day basis and in representing sellers that previously had their home listed for sale with a real estate agent. They had a lack of communication. They weren't having those difficult conversations. The majority of the time, the pricing was incorrect, and the marketing was lacking fairly significantly. So it's not rocket science for me to go in and prescribe a treatment for your listing, apply some marketing to it, tell you what the market is doing right now, and then create a strategy to sell, and then boom, it sells. It's not magic. It's just working with an agent that understands that, hey, we are here to get the job done, and that's it. So sometimes we have to have those challenging conversations. I just want you as a listener to just tell yourself that you're going to be open to listening to that information so that together you can make a decision. If you'd like any questions answered, if you have any comments, if you're considering selling your house, feel free to give me a call, 843-345-1273, or go to my website, listingsincharleston.com. This is the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA. I'll be right back.
Have a real estate question? Ask Brian Beatty. Send him an email, lowcountryhomesales@gmail.com. That's lowcountryhomesales@gmail.com. WTMA. Expert news and views on the Low Country real estate scene. The Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on 1250 WTMA.
Welcome back, Charleston. This is the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show here on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA. Thanks again for joining me this morning. I always want to take just a little bit of time each show to say that I really appreciate you tuning in and taking the time to listen to me talk about real estate. I'm not sure if it's something that you find to be fascinating or not, but I love real estate. It's what I've wanted to do my entire life, and to be able to be on the radio for about an hour talking about what I experience on a day-to-day basis, helping people and getting through tough situations, and just delivering facts that I think are reliable enough for you to take to heart and use so that you can make informed decisions. That's what I really benefit from from this program, and I just like helping people. So if there's something that I can do to help you, if you're considering buying, selling, investing in real estate, feel free to give me a call, 843-345-1273, or go to my website, listingsincharleston.com. So when we left, we were talking about just buyers and sellers in general and how they are affected by the slowdown in the market this time of year. The last two things that I want to talk about as it relates to the slowdown in our market are foreclosures and interest rates. Starting first with interest rates, this week we saw that interest rates went up about 0.25%. And we know that over the past year or so, interest rates have gone up a full 1%, and pricing has gone up over 10% in many areas. So I want you to think about this for a second, because we all know that at some point interest rates are going to continue to go up, right? They've been kept artificially low for years. At some point they got to go back up, right? Well, think about it this way. If you have a $300,000 mortgage and we see a 1% increase in interest rates and another 10% increase in pricing, this is what happens. If you have a $300,000 mortgage, that means you are spending $350 more per month for the exact same house. So, of course, as interest rates rise, it affects both buyers and the affordability associated with housing, and sellers. Although they're getting more for their house, they're going to, at some point, be working with a smaller pool of buyers that can no longer afford it. We've talked a ton on this program about first-time home buyers and just the lack of them right now. They don't have the jobs. They don't have the wage. They've got student loans, all kinds of stuff affecting the first-time home buyer market right now. I don't have time to go into all of that. Again, previous versions of this show are on my website with little descriptions on what I talk about. So feel free to go there and check that out, listingsincharleston.com. But as it relates to interest rates, they are going to go up. As they go up, houses become more expensive to own for buyers. So just something to keep in mind. Hopefully, they don't shoot up at such a drastic rate that it causes people to kind of take a step back and say, whoa, something's going on here. I'm going to sit on the fence and watch for a while. I don't think that's going to happen, and I think that they've spread out enough over a period of time to where the shock associated with the interest rates rising really hasn't been there. It hasn't been a huge jump like we've seen happen in other sectors of the real estate market. Last thing I want to talk with you about is foreclosures. As home prices increase, judicial foreclosure states, South Carolina being one of them, is becoming more aggressive in starting the foreclosure process. So total foreclosure activity, which is default notices, scheduled auctions, bank repossessions, so on and so forth, rose about 7% nationally in August on a month-to-month basis. However, in South Carolina, foreclosure activity was up 21% in August versus July. So there's this big push to start processing these loans that are not performing, processing foreclosures in which owners aren't paying their mortgage. And the crazy thing is, a lot of these mortgages haven't been paid in like years. I know people right now that haven't paid a mortgage payment, and I'm not kidding when I tell you this, in over 5 years. And it's crazy to me that they still have the house, but they do. Every situation is different. That is a very unique situation. But as prices rise, foreclosures are going to start to process a little bit faster because the bank isn't taking as much of a loss when they go to sell it. They're able to recoup more at the foreclosure auction. So look for that. If you're investing, watch that activity. If you're considering investing in real estate, give me a call. It's something that I'm watching. I'm seeing some opportunities develop in some areas of the Tri-County that I think make for a wise investment. So again, feel free to give me a call, 843-345-1273, or connect with me through my website, listingsincharleston.com. All right, so moving right along, I'm going to switch gears, and the last part of this program, I'm going to spend entirely on integrity, ethics, and trust, and in doing the right thing in real estate. It's something that if you've listened to my program before, you know I'm passionate about. there is such a large opportunity in our industry to get better at it. And the way that we do that is through education. And on the flip side of not doing education and in continuing to do the wrong things or unethical things, we need to up the punishments, in my opinion. Things are too loose. People get away with too much in our industry. I'd like to see the reins tighten a little bit, quite personally, because I've been through some issues. Even in the past 2 weeks, I've had some issues. Heck, I'll tell you the story in a little bit about some things that are incredibly unethical that I've decided to do something about. So before I get into all that, I was talking with a seller. I've never actually met the seller because they live on the other side of the country, and they're selling their second home on the Isle of Palms. And we've been working together for 3 months now. I've brought them 2 offers. First offer they accepted, and unfortunately it fell through because the buyer had some issues with the home inspection that the seller wasn't willing to fix. We had a second offer that included some creative financing options that the sellers just weren't interested. But anyways, bottom line is they have now, in the 3 months that we've been working together, come to question what it is that I'm doing for them. How am I marketing their home? It's almost like they're having they're second guessing themselves as to whether or not I'm the right agent for them. And again, we've brought them 2 offers. They've been listed with 5 other agents, by the way. Never got an offer. So I have had, in 3 months, more showings than they had over a 2-year period with 3 agents, and I've brought them 2 offers. Now, granted, they didn't work out, but I can't control everything. Having said all of that, one of the difficult things to get across to people, especially when you're sitting down with them, you're meeting with them for a first time, and they're considering hiring you, is, what is it that I actually do on a day-to-day basis? Why am I the right choice for them? And we can talk about all the marketing that we do and the pricing strategies and the sales that we have and the testimonials we have from past clients. But one of the reasons why I love being on this radio show is because it helps me deliver a clear message to my audience and potential clientele that I'm passionate about what I do. I'm a skilled professional with a track record of results, and I operate my business with integrity. And so that's what I really want to talk about. Is, as a business owner, it's important to focus on customer needs, but it's also important to focus on the fact that I run a business day to day, and although there are tasks that I have to perform, there is no checklist for operating with integrity and ethics. And that sometimes is difficult to get across when you're speaking with somebody that you've never met before, especially someone that, let's say they're on the other side of the country and they said, "Hey, Brian, I saw your marketing," or "I heard your program," or I heard that you sold this house. I want to talk with you about selling my house." Those are sometimes the things that just take some time to develop. Trust is earned over time. So it takes some willingness from potential clients to say that, well, maybe this guy is legit. Maybe he does do what he says he's going to do. I'm not going to judge just yet. And what I'm saying is that a lot of the people that I work with have previously worked with agents and they had a bad experience. So they have some sort of preconceived notion about all real estate agents, which is for the most part deserved by them because of the way they were treated, either personally or professionally. And then it's my job, of course, to try and wipe that slate clean and say, hey, this is what I do. This is what I've been able to accomplish. Let's just agree to keep an open mind. And as time progresses, you will see that I do what I say I'm going to do. So having said that, in order to run a business in real estate, there are 4 things that you need. I'm going to talk about that next, and then I'm going to actually run through some ethical scenarios with you that I've come across, and I'm going to tell you how they should be handled, okay? Any questions, comments, concerns, you want to work with me, you want to talk about real estate, you have something that you think might be a good idea for my show, would love the opportunity to speak with you. Give me a call, 843-345-1273, or go to my website, listingsincharleston.com. This is the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show. I'll be right back.
Visit Brian Beatty's website at listingsincharleston.com. The Brian Beatty Real Estate Show continues next on The Big Talker, 1250 WTMA. WTMA. Now, here's more of The Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on The Big Talker, 1250 WTMA.
Welcome back, Charleston. This is the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA. Thanks again for joining me this morning. We're in the final segment of our show, and it always seems like I've only got a few minutes left in this program to get across one of the things that I think to be incredibly important, which is what I'm going to focus on right now, and that is ethics and integrity in real estate. I told you before we left that we were going to focus on some key things that real estate agents deal with on a day-to-day basis in running this business, some real ethical dilemmas that happen more often than you think, and how we need to overcome those challenges. Again, if you'd like to reach out to me, if you're considering buying, selling, investing in real estate, you're not working with a real estate agent, give me a call. I've been in the top 1% of agents in Charleston since 2009 and would love the opportunity to earn your business. So my number, 843-345-1273, or go to my website, listingsincharleston.com. So I said before we left that there were a few things that I think are vital to running a successful real estate business. The first thing on this list, which is just a short list that I've come up with that I've adhered to over the years that has worked out very well for me in my business. And the first on that list is transparency. Businesses with integrity have a high degree of transparency. You know, what you see is what you get. And what we deal with as agents all the time are these claims that I'm the number one real estate agent. You know, that's probably the most abused thing in real estate, is that I am the number one real estate agent. So one of the things that I've always stood by is that if I make a claim about my marketing or what I've done in the past, I better be prepared at any given point in time to prove it. So real estate agents have this issue of kind of stretching the truth, as I'm sure you can imagine. So they'll say something like the number one real estate agent for you, or your number one real estate agent in the neighborhood, or whatever the case might be. But if they're going to make a claim about some sort of sales record that they've had, they have to be able to provide that to you, and it has to be sourced and it has to be dated. Okay? What we can't do as real estate agents, and I ran into this, and I'm going to tell you this short story. I met with the seller that has listened to this program before. He also met with a top producing real estate agent in our market. Walked through the house, had a great meeting with him, very nice guy. And then he had another person come by, and that particular agent just put down a piece of paper and he says, boom, look at my sales. I'm not going to tell you this agent's name, but this particular agent has a tendency to promote themselves pretty aggressively. You've probably seen their advertising before. Anyways, he puts down this list and says, you know, here's how I rank, and here's everybody else's production. What else you need to know is basically what they were delivering with that piece of paper. And what, as real estate agents, I know, of course, that it is unethical and it is a rules and regulations violation of the Charleston Trident Association of Realtors to share with the public another real estate agent's production. I can say how many homes I've sold and my percentage of the market share and my stats as long as it's sourced, but I can't go up to somebody and say, oh, you don't want to work with this person. Look at the number of sales they've had and then look at the number of sales I've had. That's unethical. You can't do that. So it wasn't quite an issue for me because I got the listing anyways and we're working together, and I'm sure that we'll be under contract shortly because it's a great house and it's a very realistic seller. But I can't imagine the number of deals this particular agent has gotten just by putting down that piece of paper and saying, ooh, wow, look at me. And sellers don't even give the other agents a chance. And what I want to kind of have you guys understand is that I would much rather focus on my own merits and what I bring to the table as a reason to choose me rather than just comparing myself to other real estate agents. In other words, if you want to work with me, it's because I bring something to the table that you want or that you can appreciate and that has worked in the past, rather than saying, well, look how I've done compared to this person or this person or this person. In other words, my marketing is self-sufficient rather than it being a comparison to other people. And I could dig a lot deeper into that. I'm going to save that story for another time, I suppose. But that's the number one thing that is on my list is transparency, because I think that it's hugely lacking in our industry because people get away with it. Second thing is dedication, showing up to work every day, not letting tasks pile up, calling people back, doing things you know you need to do even when you're tired or distracted or stressed out, or when you're working with a client that makes it challenging for you to have a straightforward conversation with them because they don't want to hear it or because they tend to get in their own way and kind of prevent you from providing them with good counsel. And I'm not here, my job is to accomplish everything that I set out to do when we first meet, to lay out a plan, say, this is the plan, this is what we can expect, here's the results that I think that we can accomplish. So I'm not here to tell you what to do, but it does mean that I'm going to deliver the facts even when the truth might be hurtful. Okay, so dedication to professionalism is what I would call that. I also think that teamwork is hugely important. I said at the very beginning of this program that my wife and I had a little baby girl over the weekend, and I could not have maintained the level of business that I maintain without my team. So I am hugely grateful to have such a fantastic group of agents working for and with me. And if I was a single agent, there's just no way that I could have done it all on my own. There's just no way. So I think a lot of people get distracted by the idea of working with a team versus just working with a single agent. And I'm here to tell you that life happens. And as a single agent, I've been there. What was it? It was 2012, maybe. I did like 56 transactions on my own, no assistant, no nothing. And I was exhausted. And the only way I was able to do it was because I was young and I didn't have a life. So when life happens, teamwork is essential. And that's something that I promote. I believe in it. And then the last thing I would say is just doing the right thing. It goes back to kind of being in these crossroads to where you could go and take the left path and know that you're probably not going to get in trouble because the guidelines are so loose, or it's not that the guidelines are loose, but they're just not enforced. Or you can say, you know what, I know that's not the right thing to do. I'm not going to put myself and my business in jeopardy of being perceived as unethical. It's just not worth it to me. Let me give you an example really quickly. I had somebody email me and they said that, Brian, I have reason to believe that the seller's agent was not truthful about the opposing bids for a property. I'm suspicious he made up bids to drive up the price I eventually offered. Do I have the right to demand proof of the opposing offer? Well, as an agent or as a seller, technically, we're not obligated to divulge details on competing offers. Okay, we don't have to divulge those details. If you're a buyer, you can ask for it in a counteroffer, but you're probably going to lose the bid because the listing agent or the seller might not want to share the details of that offer if it turns out to be a real offer. So if you feel you're a victim of fraudulent behavior, there are some things you can do about it, but you'd have to consult an attorney and then you'd have to ask for proof. And then it could be a huge waste of time if it ended up being truthful that there was another offer. But there's just one of probably 100 examples that I could talk about for hours on this program about unethical behavior from real estate agents. So I'm gonna table this, but I am going to come back to it. And if you've had something happen in working with a real estate agent that has put a bad taste in your mouth about our industry in general, first and foremost, I don't blame you, but I would like the opportunity to speak with you and see if there might be a way for us to work together based on a set of operating principles that I believe to be a combination for success in real estate. So let's have that conversation. Give me a call, 843-345-1273, or go to my website, listingsincharleston.com. That's about all the time I have. Thanks again so much for listening. Have a great rest of your weekend. This is the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show here on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA.
Join us for another edition of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show next Saturday morning from 8 till 9. Contact Brian Beatty online at listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. Or call him at 843-345-1273. 843-345-1273.